Sean O'Malley is special. Anybody can see it. At UFC 260, this undefeated 13-1 fighter completely dismantled Thomas Almeida with an epic performance. But how? Let's see. The fight starts. Right away, O'Malley comes out in his wide karate stance, which he switches every few seconds, partly because he uses so many effective kicks from both legs, front kicks, side kicks, leg kicks, head kicks, spinning kicks. He's got them all in his arsenal, but that ain't the main reason of his success. What puts all of his attacks together is the way he feints. When he enters range, you never really know what's coming. Is it a feint? Is it an attack? Is it a kick? As his opponent, the only thing you really know is that he's getting closer to you. But for how long is anyone's guess. That lack of information is a big problem when you face Sean O'Malley, because you essentially have three options whenever he enters range. 1. You underreact. 2. You overreact. And 3. You counterreact. So, what is an underreaction? Well, it's basically when you don't respond to the feint in any way. You don't flinch or move away. That sort of reaction can be helpful when you want to implement your own game plan, but it can also be dangerous because Sean can take advantage by attacking you when you least expect it and when you're not ready to defend it. During this fight, Almeida almost never underreacted. More often than not, he was responding to Sean's feints and entries in some capacity. He was either overreacting a little bit or counterreacting. Let's look at an example of overreaction. It's essentially when you are expecting an attack, but it just never comes. Either you flinch or you move back, just to try to escape the immediate threat. Here, as you can see, Almeida moves back slightly. Yes, it allows him to evade O'Malley's possible attack, but if he keeps doing that, he simply gives Sean the possibility of playing on the outside, which is his game. If you constantly give him space when he feints, the range will be 100% his. So, what about the last option? The counter reaction. If he wants to, Almeida can try to counter Sean's attack, not fully knowing if it is won or not. That's what he chooses to do here. O'Malley moves in. There's no way for Thomas to know if a strike is coming, but he goes for the counter anyways. It's a gamble. He's banking on O'Malley committing, but as soon as Suga's in, Suga's out, and he makes Almeida look silly. But a few moments later, Almeida takes the same gamble, and it almost pays triple. You have to be courageous to counter-react, because by definition, you're going to whiff some of the time. In this sequence, Almeida's bravery almost got him the victory. But Sean's composure is a treasure. He analyzes the moment, paralyzes his opponent, so the next time Almeida counter-reacts with the same combo, Sean uses that reaction to his advantage. And meanwhile, the famous kicks are still landing, starting off as the same, finishing on different trajectories. Here, the Sugar Show realizes that Almeida is moving his head on the outside of the left hand, and that he's also dipping more and more when he wants to counter. Sean enters range, sets it up, and executes. It's a beauty, but it's not enough to put Thomas down. This is... Amazingly, he gets back up. Sean O'Malley still has some work to do. And this is when he observes a tendency, which will come back later in the fight. But for now, we can only try to appreciate how brilliant Sean O'Malley is looking so far. He's committing on his strikes depending on how Almeida reacts to his entries, to his attacks, or to his feints. Look, Sugar Shane turns his head, moves forward explosively, and commits with a 1-2. Almeida reacts in that fashion. 2 seconds later, Sean turns his head again, but this time he simply fakes his entry and doesn't commit on his attack. Still, Thomas moves the same way again. He dips down. That's a severe overreaction, and O'Malley's looking to take advantage. One more time, he turns his head and bounces forward, expecting the same reaction from Almeida. But surprisingly, Almeida doesn't overreact. This time, he counter-reacts, which moves his head just outside the danger zone. A minute later, the same process happens. O'Malley feints an attack, which reveals an overreaction, which is then exploited seconds later by a move that starts similarly, but ends differently. Not once, but twice. And Almeida can barely adjust in time, his instincts allowing him to cling to consciousness. At the end of the first round, it's obvious. Sean O'Malley's opponent's best chance is to close the distance. Maybe they can land good punches on the inside, where Sean is more vulnerable. But most fighters who face him don't seem to be able to do that. Yes, the range advantage is a huge attribute for O'Malley, but what makes him so successful is that his opponents can't match his unpredictable footwork, unless they forcefully slow it down. Second round. It's a slightly slower pace in the octagon, but the Sugar Show keeps piling up numbers. The only opportunities for Almeida to strike come from counter reactions, but they're still a gamble. Sometimes they land, sometimes they're useless. Third round. Using his skillful kicks and feints, O'Malley is constantly moving in and out of range, dismantling Almeida with his striking. Whenever the Brazilian wants to enter the pocket, either O'Malley's feints freeze him on the spot, or he gets intercepted with a jab or another technique. To win the fight, Almeida's gonna have to do more. He has to close the distance. So just like he did in the first, Thomas Almeida tries to enter range by advancing in the southpaw stance to land a power lead hand. It's only a matter of time before Sugar figures it out. 30 seconds later, he throws a front kick, Almeida blocks it and recognizes he can close the distance now. Once again, he moves southpaw, preparing for his big right. And that's O'Malley's cue. He plants his feet, focuses on his target, rotates his body, and Sugar shows his bullseye accuracy. The left hand gets through the jaw, Almeida has been downed, tumbling on the ground, too much damage. Checkmate. Time to withdraw. O'Malley's not in a rush to end it all, though can have a tragic scene like in the first round, so better go finish it, involve the referee. Precision is legit better than Steph Curry. Knockout. What's up guys, I'm really glad to be back. Don't know when the next video is gonna come out, but I hope you learned something about Sean O'Malley's striking. If that's the case, please consider liking the video and even subscribing. Alright guys, see ya.